The launch of the much anticipated Crackdown 3 is almost here. That is, if it doesn't get delayed again. But by the recent reception Xbox exclusives have been getting, is Crackdown 3 destined to fail? If previous Xbox exclusives are anything to go by, one can say that almost all their games didn't do so well. Some failed commercially, some failed critically, some just failed to capture gamers' long-term interest. Gears of War 4 failed to capture the magic of the original trilogy. It wasn't a bad game by any means, it just felt like more of the same, but less. Instead of the classic characters, you were forced to play with the B team, and they were very hard to connect with. As a result, gamers soon abandoned the game. Halo 5 Guardians suffered almost the same fate. Instead of playing as the Master Chief, gamers were forced to play most of the game as Locke, again making it hard to connect with the protagonist. They tried to pull a Halo 2, where you play as the Arbiter, but 343 industry mistake was, we as gamers were already introduced to the Arbiter. He was the Master Chief's main rival, so it was neat to see events through his point of view. Whereas Locke was seen as some corporate tool we were forced to play as, when all we really wanted was more Master Chief. Sea of Thieves when launched was very underwhelming. The game launched bare bones with essentially the same mission loop. Get a map, sail to an island, find item, return for XP. The only thing that broke the cycle was engaging with the other pirates on land or the open sea. The only problem was, the combat was kinda weak. And Sea of Thieves is one of those games where you must play with friends to have fun, otherwise the griefing may be too much. A pirate could spend hours finding buried treasures, only for it to be stolen by a crew of 3. It's safe to say that Xbox games have been struggling, whereas Sony has had massive success with their exclusives like Uncharted 4, God of War, and Spider-Man, which raises more expectations for Crackdown 3. But the more I think about it, there are two things that pertain to Crackdown 3 that I'm not so sure about. Number 1, is it fair so much pressure is put on Crackdown 3 to deliver? And 2, with the inclusion of Game Pass, does sales or even reception matter at all? From what I can remember, Crackdown was never supposed to be big and popular as it is today. When it was first announced, it seemed like a nice B title, a game that would supplement Xbox Games library. When the game was released, it was a pretty bare bones experience. There wasn't really a story, just a loosely related set of bosses scattered around the world. What made the game fun was collecting orbs and getting stronger, faster, and getting to the point where you could jump over skyscrapers and the destruction. The first game was something to build on, and then they released Crackdown 2. The story got a little better, but it was still a letdown. Again, where Crackdown excelled was the gameplay. It was more of everything that made the first Crackdown a cult classic. Still, the second Crackdown wasn't received well as the first one. One can say the reception was average, and average for a first-party title game is disappointing. Based on the sequels, there shouldn't be much hype for Crackdown 3. Based on the delays and studios leaving mid-development, gamers should be mildly optimistic at best. Still, the hype persists. And with so much hype, all the reviewers, creators, and gamers will be awaiting its release, some to play it, others to point out its flaws. And if recent reviews for Fallout 76 and Battlefield are anything to go by, good word of mouth on the internet, especially YouTube, can really affect the game's sale numbers. But that's the thing. Do sale numbers really matter to Microsoft anymore? At least when it comes to first-party titles. In the middle of this generation, Microsoft decided to change the way they see and deliver games. Gamers can still buy their games traditionally. You pay the retail price and it's yours. However, now, Microsoft is also trying to sell you a service, Xbox Game Pass. Now gamers have two choices how Xbox games are played. Either way, Xbox wins. At the end of the day, they keep the gamer on their platform. And let's just say Crackdown 3 doesn't review or sell well. The game still brings value to Xbox Game Pass. It provides those gamers who are looking for an action-packed game with another title to choose from. And that's the thing with Game Pass. With each new release, the library just gets stronger. Of course, the stronger the game, the better. But Netflix as we know it wasn't built on a day. And even though I'm mildly optimistic about the reception Crackdown 3 will receive, I'll be playing it day one. So far from what I've seen, it looked like it'll be a blast, especially playing co-op with friends. I just hope this time there's a little bit more to the story, some lore built around the world. Just give me one reason to come back to this world, once all the mayhem and destruction gets old.